How are you, Matthew?
G'day, Weirdo. Thanks for
How's
coming
it
on,
going,
mate.
mate?
I wouldn't be dead for quids, especially after listening to that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, a genuinely talented North Queensland musician. And I know everyone calls you Weirdo.
I'm sure you've met stranger people, Matt, don't worry.
Well, maybe I'll exercise my right of silence on that one, Weirdo. But your real name's Anthony Weir. Mate, tell us about you.
Mate, I'm nearly 60 at the moment. So I grew up in Melbourne, a place called Thornbury, just near 8 k's north of Melbourne, back in the early days. My first job, I think I was 12 years old. I had my first job. I was a local drug dealer. Yes, I know it sounds funny, but so every Saturday morning I'd jump on me little treadly, mate, and I'd zap a chemist store, go in the back and clean all the bottles out, sweep all the floors, and then they'd fill me backpack up with all these drugs. So I'd go deliver them to all the old people around the neighbourhood in my backpack on the bush bike. Like, I don't think you'd be able to get away with that now, eh? Yeah, so, yeah.
Oh, well, mate, was it a good quid for a 12-year-old?
Oh, mate, yeah, mate. A dollar bought a lot of lollies back in those days, eh?
And, yeah, perhaps a sign of things to come too. But no, I'm just kidding. Right?
All good, mate, all good.
But obviously, we know from that magnificent riff that you played at the beginning, you're a blues man. I've seen you live, and I'm got some hyperlinks to your music here. You're dead set good. What got you into music, mate?
Mate, funny enough, about 12 years old, I used to knock around with the younger of 4 brothers, my partner in crime back in those days, and young Barry Marsh. And I went over to Barry's place in the morning, knocked on the door. Hey, Mrs. Marsh, is Barry home? I said, she goes, sorry, Anthony, Barry's gone to guitar lessons. I thought, oh, guitar lessons? So, well, what time will he be back? I won't be back till about lunchtime. So I thought, oh, what am I going to do? All the mates are gone away. So this happened for a couple of weeks, and then I said to my mum, I said, Mum, Baz is having guitar lessons. Do you reckon I could get a guitar and have a couple of lessons too? And she goes, well, I suppose it's not a bad idea. So I had a couple of guitar lessons up in Reservoir, a bloke called Ralph White. I don't know if he's still alive now, but he was a bit of a shady character. And I suppose 6 months, and then Bazza dropped out. Actually, Ralph goes, Barry, you're not really meant to be a guitar player. Your fingers are too fat and chubby. So he dropped out, and I sort of kept going. And I think it was just the sound of a guitar that drew me to it. All the noises you could hear. I remember we were playing and remember the little transistor radios you'd get?
Yeah.
We had that sitting at a tree, and we're all hiding. And next minute I hear this, and I thought, oh, I like this stuff. This is pretty cool. And I think that's then about when LaGrange came out. I thought, that's the sort of music that I want to play.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought, yeah, that's what I think I want to do. Just that southern rock and roll.
So from playing a hide and seek game and just like covering a bit of time with your mate, that kind of like planted this seed.
Yeah, then after hearing that sound, I thought,
right,
that's what I want to do. That's what I want to play.
All right. So how did you get from excited young man sitting there with his eyes like this to, and I'm just going to have to come out and say it, talented musician? Like, obviously there's a process involved in that. Can you talk us through that?
Mate, it's a long process. Dedication, you have to want to do it, I think, because if you don't really want to do it, why bother? As it was a love of those pitch harmonics and Billy Gibbons' sort of tonal qualities, and that I thought, it just sparked something in me. And I thought, so you sit on there with CZ Top's first album, Greatest Hits, on the old turntable, sitting in your room with the guitar, and you're playing note for note. So you'd lock yourself in your room for days, weeks and years on end. And then you mostly catch up with a few fellows from school, and they do, we should get a band together. So I think we had our first band, I think, they had in the auditorium there. So me and a few of the boys from school, so we'd practice every lunchtime. I think we only had about 2 songs, Roll Over, Lay Down, and Caroline, Sweet Caroline. From so we played those. They went over really well, though. People could always tap their foot to it. Like, even if you don't like it, you still be tapping your foot because you're dum, bum, 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 bum. Oh, yeah.
How'd you get to Cairns, North Queensland? And when?
Well, believe I chased a woman up here when I was 25. Yeah.
Shall La Femme.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a woman involved.
The Melbourne scene was it was sort of turning back then because we played for a few bands down in Melbourne. Left Hand Drive. We had 3 left-hand guitarists. So I thought, what else are we going to call it? Left Hand Drive. Yeah, we were playing for a lot of the pubs. One of the bike clubs in Melbourne. We were their local band on a Friday night. That was an experience. That was a bit of an eye opener.
Well, you want to quickly talk us through that? It's okay.
Oh, mate, yeah, like the 1% bike club scene. It was all good, you know. Like they didn't really enjoy the music. Like we got headhunted from a place called Dane Music in Brunswick, Dane Studios. They were quite a big rehearsal studio in Brunswick Street, just behind the pub there. And one of the members heard it and said, "Oh, why don't you boys come and play at the clubhouse?" I said, all wide-eyed, young. Oh, yeah. Oh, bikes club, this would be great. We've done that for quite a while. Done a couple of runs with them up to different chapters up in Sydney and that. But like anything, mate, that sort of scene can end up sort of bringing you down a bit. A bit of the old bit of that going on, and a few of the members got I suppose you could say they got a bit of a habit, and that makes sort of things fall together pretty quick, eh?
Yeah. What gang was it?
I'd rather not say, mate. One of the bigger clubs in Melbourne.
One of the bigger motorcycling enthusiast clubs. Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so I come to Cairns when I was 25. Jumped in my old Bedford camper van, and I think it took me nearly 3 weeks to get up here because I threw an axle in Mooney and that was stuck on the side of the road there. I had to get an axle coming from Bundaberg. It was a Salisbury axle for a Holden. Yeah. So I had to wait there for that. And then further up the road on the Mooney Highway, there's this little narrow track in the middle of jack shit, mate, middle of nowhere. And there was a truck coming one day and I was coming the other way. And I thought, oh, well, you've got to give way. He's bigger than I am. So I pulled over as far as I could, done a windscreen. Yeah. So then I was stuck in, where was it? Oh, just out of Mooney for about 3 or 4 days there till I had to a Bedford windscreen. They're not, you can't really get them off the shelf. Yeah. So I had to wait there and just taking my time coming up, just enjoying smelling the roses, as so to speak, Matt. Yeah. Come up here and I thought, oh, this is not a bad place. Oh, people were happy. The sun was out. The rain wasn't cold. When it rained, the rain was warm. And I thought, I spent about 3 months up here. And I was living at Clifton Beach here. Then I moved up to Ellis Beach back in the early days.
All right.
Yeah, that was pretty wild back in the early days. Ellis. This is when Port Douglas was just a fishing village, eh? So it was pretty much at the end of the line for Cairns, but the end of the Wild West. So good times up there.
So when are we talking, mate? The 70s or 80s?
Oh, early to mid 80s, I think.
All right.
Yeah, something like that, eh?
Right.
Yeah.
So you're there, mate, and you're getting involved in the Cairns music scene. So tell me about the Cairns music scene back then. Quite a while or what?
Yeah, well, we had a lot more pubs in town, Matt. And you go to you had the Big O, all those sort of places. A lot of the pubs. I got up here when a few of them just closed down. So on the Barbary Coast, but the Big O was still going. That was an interesting joint. Old Dottie's bar down there. And you could go Ian Moss used to come up here sometimes and just come in one of the local pubs and have a play, just sitting with a session. A very transient place, very transient. You go afternoon, you hear a band in the afternoon, and then they'd lug out, and then another band come in for Saturday night. So you have 2 bands a day in some of these pubs, which a lot of the local fellas back then. Todd McAlpine out of the Brazilians. Dave Alcon, he's been around for many years. Victor. Jono back in the early days.
Yeah. The Jono.
The Jono, mate. Yes, the Jono. Yeah. Back when he was a bit of a wild man.
And Terry Doyle, obviously, he would have been up here then too. Okay. So that would have given, like, with all these different pubs and this pretty, from what you've described, a pretty vibrant music and entertainment scene. And the Barbary Coast, for listeners who are outside of Cairns, the Barbary Coast isn't the coast of Africa. We're talking about there's an area around the Cairns Wharves that was called the Barbary Coast, and it was full of, I don't know,
undesirables. Undesirables.
Yeah, I was looking for the adjective, mate. Like, how would I describe the bar?
Mate, I'll put it this way: even the coppers was too scared to go down there sometimes.
Yeah.
Even the police wouldn't go down there. You had all your wharfies, your bikers, your hippies, your ferals. It's just a big mingling pot for a lot of different people, eh?
Yeah, and look, even that, the actor Lee Marvin, who used to come fishing here, he was known to go drinking around the Barbary Coast around in those times too, in the 70s and 80s. Yeah. So interesting time. So you've got a hell of a lot of locations. That means that there is going to be a lot more opportunities for local bands, I'm thinking. Is that the case?
You could go in, and there's still a lot of jam sessions going on too. So you could always just go and sit in with a few different musos, or just catch up with your mates and sit in with a couple of songs with them, back in the time. Or just sit back at the bar and get absolutely shit-faced.
Either or.
Happened quite a lot.
And they wouldn't be mutually exclusive either, I'm thinking. Like, you'd be sitting there maybe having a play and having a bit of a beer as well, because Amanda's mine.
Oh, well, you could actually drink and smoke, like smoke and drink on stage back in those days.
Yeah.
There was only sort of Jono's, 1 or 2 blues bands back in those days, early days, and I thought, there should be more blues bands up here, because it's a pretty laid-back sort of a place,
Yeah.
So... And you're saying, we've got to get all these original songs we used to do recorded. I have to get on to Chris. I said, yeah. I said, what about the sax player? I said, mate, he's always too drunk. He's still too drunk, eh? So the Flaming Cane Toads, that was basically just a blues band.
And so you did have some original material, mate. You have to get that on vinyl, seriously. Well, not vinyl, you know what I mean.
Yeah, back in those days, man. I remember showing a 33 to my granddaughter when she was little. She goes, Pop, that's the biggest CD I've ever seen. It just killed me. I thought, oh, yeah, fair enough, darling. Eh?
Well, that's it. I mean, it's almost Edison record material to the kids today. It really is.
I know.
When we used to look at Edison records and go, wow, look at that,
Like some of them, I think I've seen on YouTube, one of the kids didn't even know what a cassette was. They were all looking at this thing, what is it? They couldn't work out what a cassette was.
Tell us about your best gig that you played, as in that, it was the highest, the biggest crowd, best music. Then tell us about your most interesting, and then tell us about the one you kind of liked the most. That was like, So talk us through some gigs.
One of the funniest ones, we were playing for a bike club in Melbourne, and they had their first Werribee Rock, and we were one of the local bands playing for them. And they had it down at Werribee on a property down there on the back of a big semi, all the pole backs set up there. And our singer Gert, who's an Irishman, sort of little fat Irishman, and he used to get up and get about a bit. And we were up there playing, I think we were playing a bit of Thin Lizzy, I think, back at the time, that sort of stuff. I do want to bring a bit of Thin Lizzy back too, because I still enjoy me Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, right.
And he's playing, he's got his foot up on the pole back, doing the old, big rah, and then he disappeared. I looked around to Nick and Gert, and fuck, where's Gert gone? Ass up over the pole back, straight off the stage. It's a ground. So we sort of kept Well, just keep playing, Luigi, just keep playing. So we're playing. You see this little head bobbing around at the stage, comes up, races up the stage again, and back into it. I thought, oh my God, Father. Lucky he didn't hurt himself.
Was he drunk? Wasn't even drunk.
Well, we could have been a little bit intoxicated and under the influence at that stage, I think. But yeah, just one of those things, eh?
All right. So, mate, your biggest profiliest gig. Tell us about that.
I suppose the Cairns Blues festivals and some of the festivals we used to do, because I started roadieing when I was 15, Matt, for bands, for mates' bands, and we were in a lot of different pubs in Melbourne, like the South Side Six, Matthew Flinders, a Donny Inn. And back in those days, like they were pretty rough, eh? Some of those joints. And growing up in that environment, I don't really like going. I hardly ever go to pubs anymore. I'm just over it. Even playing in pubs, I'd rather do a festival or do a party or something. Yeah, the festivals, they're always a good vibe, eh? They're normally set up pretty well organised.
And you had a hand in the Cairns Blues Festival, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it's sort of strange, because Pauline and a few of they weren't even committee members back. We're just the people who really enjoyed the music. We just sat around listening to the blues out at the back table and that. And said, well, why don't we get a blues festival happening like Byron Bay? And they said, oh, that's not a bad idea. So a few of the crew took it on, and it's sort of, after jumping through all the hurdles with Cairns City Council, like that was a pain in the arse. Everything you need, security, permits, and then that was a big learning curve for them, mate, the first one. I think we've had about 3 up here, and then it just got too much for them, so that sort of folded up after a couple of years. And then because all the permits and things happening and all the hoops they had to jump through, they had one over on I think Fitzroy Island. They had a blues festival over there, and then they had one down in Cardwell, which is strange. Cairns Blues Festival in Cardwell, bit strange, but never mind. That was a good lineup. Well, that was one of the last times I actually had a chat to Phil Emanuel before he died.
Yeah, it all sounds pretty interesting. So the Cairns music scene back there, it's not just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's more kind of like booze, fights, blues, endless nights. I got to be honest, kind of wouldn't mind going back there and having a beer. But we'll go into your music tastes now. So you've mentioned Thin Lizzy, you've mentioned a few other bands. What music styles and what bands specifically have really influenced your music character arc, I suppose I'd say?
As in guitar players, I'd have to say Jimmy Page of Zeppelin.
Yep.
Yeah, Jimmy, Stevie Ray, bloke called Bugs Henderson and the Shuffle Kings. Now, if you've never heard of him, Matt, look him up. And to you two viewers, because when you play music, you really can't tell lies, Matt. You can tell lies while you're sitting at the pub talking to your mates. Once you put a guitar on, I think all the lies are out of the ball game, because it's pretty much true what comes out. And I think that's with certain musicians, you see the truth and integrity in their music. And a lot of these days, it's just all people getting on stage, getting drunk and doing half a job. You get paid to do a job, do it properly for yourself and the people who are employing you. Like, we've all done it, and we'll most probably still will do it on the odd occasion. But yeah, you play music for a reason.
So that emotion has got to come out when you're talking about that integrity and those lies. Like, are you talking about emotional integrity? It's like we've got to dive into that.
Integrity, as in a business wise, like what you'd expect from, you're employing somebody, what you'd expect from them to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And for your members in the band, and because no good bullshit to yourself or bullshit to the punters, you know. Mm-hmm. Keep it real, meat and potatoes, mate.
So what do you do? Because there's going to be times, like, you're a musician, you love music, but there's going to be times where you just, I just don't feel like doing this. What do you do to maintain that inspiration and that discipline in a kind of like, and remembering that we don't, no disrespect, Weirdo, but it's not as if chaps like me associate musicians with self-discipline. I kind of do associate it with drunkenness and being a little, no disrespect.
Mate, that I think it comes with age, Matt. We all grow up, and just playing it for the right reasons and enjoying it. Same as anywhere in Australia, anywhere in the world. One bad gig will lose you 10. One good gig will get you 10. And there's nothing worse than going playing and something fucks up and think, oh, it sounded shit, and you feel a bit ashamed of yourself because you could do a lot better. Sometimes things are out of you can't just out of your circumstance, you can't help it. But so the next time you come back with vengeance and gusto, mate, and try and make up for it,
Well, I kind of know how that feels. Like, I don't have your creative talent or your ability. I would never presume that. And I get involved in Northern Vibe, to be candid, for some very selfish reasons, because it gives me an excuse to chat to guys like you and people like Trace Hannah, who I spoke to last week. But I've picked up the phone and emailed people from the other side of the world. Like, one of the ladies I spoke to was Dr. Paula Boddington, who's an internationally renowned expert on artificial intelligence and ethics. Now, when she talks, she goes to like international forums. She's influenced the way the law is written in the United Kingdom, which obviously is going to have flow-on effects for the rest of the Anglosphere. Yeah. So I seen this lady and it just piqued my interest. I was like, oh, artificial intelligence and ethics. Oh, right. And this really interesting woman. And she talks like this. She's a very eccentric English woman.
Oh, okay,
and her brain just goes 1,000 miles an hour. So she's talking like this the whole time. And I saw one of the other interviews, and I genuinely had to slow the interview down so I could understand her. But here's this yobbo from North Queensland, Weirdo, who sends this Sheila an email and gets in contact through Facebook going, Matt Maloney, Northern Vibe, I'd love to have a chat to you. Like, imagine if someone just contacted you randomly from the other side of the world and said, we'd love to have a chat. You just sod off, Weirdo. Like, go away. But if you say, I've got a podcast, mate, these people will make time in their day, like you this morning, and I know it's not a busy Sunday morning, but still you got other things you could be doing, to talk to me and our listeners. And we kind of learn. It's like, oh, so what was it like as a muso in Cairns in the 80s and the 70s? What was it like playing for motorcycling enthusiast clubs? What was it like? What was it like doing that? And we get an insight into these worlds that you just wouldn't normally see. And well, what are you guys thinking when you're talking? So when Dr. Boddington is talking to legislators and big tech people, like, she knows these big tech people. She talks to them. And what are you guys talking about? Where is all this going to go? So you get this. It's really kind of cool. I do have the occasional, not bad interview in the sense that like my guests are bad, because I've never had an uninteresting bad guest. But there's been times where I haven't, and I genuinely haven't. There have been times where I haven't performed as an interviewer and asked the right questions and led people up the right way. Okay. But mate, it's been, I know how you feel. You just got to get back on that. You just got to get back on and remember.
Yeah, you do. A sense of personal responsibility, achievement, that you can do better, and you strive for that, because mate, we've been doing it a long time. And I think the thing is, with people in bands, everybody goes for these gun players. Oh yeah, but sometimes a gun player, mate, can be a total arsehole and you really don't want to work with them. I would rather have somebody that I get along with, like all the members in the bands I've had, we've always got on well. The music hasn't been magic, but it only gets better with time. And you've got the base relationship there as a group of people that all get on and striving for the one thing. As I say to Jeff and Daisy, my job is as a guitar player to make you sound better than me. Your job as a bass player is to sound Daisy sound better than you and Vicky Burke. At the time that goes round, hopefully things work out well. Sometimes they don't, but that's live music, mate. You only have a tenth of a second to, compensate sometimes.
So to give some contextual information to our listeners, you're talking about your band there. Tell us about the Flamin' Cane Toads.
Well, that was strange because as a lot of people in bands say, oh, you'll sit around, oh, we need a name. I don't know. And Foxy, a TI bass player, said, hey, Weirdo Weir. I remember we got this cane toad, we set him on fire, eh? And he was jumping, he was setting in the dry. Every time he jumped, he set these little spot fires because he was jumping. Sorry, it's very, but they are a pest up here. We just should have knocked it on the head, I suppose. But we're on alcohol at the time. And my mate goes, oh, Flaming Cane Toad, eh? He goes, that's a pretty far northern name. I said, well, we play pretty sort of far northern music, so call it the Flaming Cane Toads.
That's
so that was it.
All right, so who's in the band?
Well, this band, originally, the original Cane Toads was the drummer, Chris Blishen was our drummer and singer. Foxy David was our bass player, which I said I bumped into him yesterday down at Mark, and he's doing well. He's sort of semi-retired now. One of those bass players, you get a riff happening and he'll just come up with something, just fit in like a glove, and then you get a bit of a shuffle behind it, mate. It just sort of, oh shit, that sounds all right. That was the first reincarnation. The second one we had was a few years later. I was playing with a few of the Jeff Thomas, actually the bass player I'm playing with at the moment. There was Jeff. We went through a few drummers in the time, but David Snell was the original drummer of the Second Toads. So there's myself, Jeff, and Dave on drums. So we had three basically in the rhythm section. Then we had a lady called Sue Day, which is a marvelous singer. She's on some of the Cairns Cruising Yachts Club footage down there too, Matt. Want to check that out. And my wife, Terry, does backups and percussion. So that was a 5-piece with the two. That's the first time I've actually worked with a female out front. And I was sort of, I don't know how this is going to go, But it worked out well. We've done that for about 6 years. And then Sue said, oh, I've had enough. I think I'm getting too old for this. And I said, oh, well, fair enough, So I had a bit of a hiatus for about 12 months, just potted around doing bits and pieces. And then Jeff and Daisy, I've known the old drummer Daisy for years up here. He plays a lot of the country gigs, played all over. He used to play in the group in Melbourne. So we're playing with Daisy and Jeff, still in a 3-piece at the moment for the blues. And then if we go down, if the girls want to do a Flaming Cane Toads classic rock sort of thing, we'll get Sue and my wife. They'll come back in, and then we'll just do the classic rock thing.
Where can people find your music? Is it under whom?
It would be under the Flaming Cane Toads, either at the Cairns Yacht Squadron for some of the local stuff, or Jeff Thomas on Facebook. YouTube, Jeff Thomas, which has got a lot of some of the early stuff on there. It's sort of funny when you look back and shit, I don't remember that gig. But just not because you're a pest or anything, just so long ago. And
if you were speaking to a young and up and coming musician who felt like they had a little bit of talent and they wanted to cultivate it and do something with it, what advice would you give that person?
Do it for the right reasons. You might get girls out of it. Like, mate, at the end of the day, I was always packing up the PA and putting things away. So even the drunk ugly ones were gone, mate, by the time I finished. So the women weren't a big thing back then. Don't take too many drugs, because anything in moderation, I think, is reasonable. Like a lot of things I've never done heroin, that sort of thing. And if you can, young people, learn by other people's mistakes. If you see one of your mates doing it and he goes to shit, or think, I could be exactly the same as that. That's the same person I am. And if you've got an addictive personality, be staunch, dig in, concentrate on your music. Do it because you love it. And just, well, kids got so much technology these days. So go to jam sessions. More people you play with, the more appreciation you'll get for living in the moment, pretty much. Enjoy what you play. You'll play a lot of shit over the years, but then you'll work out what you don't want to play. Like, sorry to all the Eagles and Credence plants, but Credence people, but I don't want to play any of that. I'd rather play something from 20 years ago that can take that person back to when they didn't have missus and kids, when they were running amok. They were having a fat time. If you can give somebody that for 3.5 minutes, well, then you're doing your job. We provide memories for people.
Wow.
And if you can do that, well, then you're doing a good job, you know. And
That's
it's a good feeling. It's quite a good feeling to be able to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what's it like? Let's talk about that. What's it like when a crowd gets behind you? Does it really amp you up, and does it add?
Oh, yeah. Well, they're not throwing cans at you.
Have you had that too?
Oh, the occasional one of as I said, mate, you'll have one bad one with every couple of ones. You take it as in your stride, and you're going to feel disheartened and, you know, a bit cranky about it. But hey, look, said come back with gusto the next time. And if you for the young people, if there's a mistake, you're always playing at rehearsing. Always rehearse with a band, and if you can, video it. Like Jeff started videoing all the stuff we're doing with the second cantos, and the girls were saying, "Oh, I don't know what type I like this, or no." So it's just basically we can sit back, analyze it, what we're doing, see what works, see what doesn't work. It's not a fashion show. It's basically to hear the music, because when you're playing, you haven't got time to actually sit back and listen to the roses because it's just happening that quick.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I basically, young people, the crew, video whatever you can, or even on your phone, just record it. So, you know, so you sit back and think, oh, that was really good. I like that bit. And you think, well, shit, I can't remember how I done it. But it happens. Experiment with your music. Like guitar players will go through so many different pedals and things because we're all chasing that tone, that magical tone that every guitar player wants to try. You'll spend thousands of dollars on it too over the years. And sometimes it's just a pleasure to the guitar, plug it straight into an amplifier and use the amplifier. And sometimes you get the best results that way with your volume knob and your tone knob. Watch a lot of YouTube guitar players, as I was saying. A lot of brilliant artists out there at the moment. So much talent. Because I spend a lot of my time looking at YouTube and guitar players and different things. And oh yes, and young people, very important. Learn how to set up a PA and lighting, or have a really good mate who likes lifting heavy black boxes. They're quite handy to have. And if they do, try and incorporate them with your band, because when you start playing gigs and you got one of your mates does all the PA and that, they know how the songs are. They know when to, Weirdo's going to do a lead break, so I'll just crank a little bit more up on there for that bit. Or the singer's they need a bit of echo or reverb at a certain part of the song. And they know the song's back to heart because they've been there from day one. So pretty much they're like the Beatles, the fifth member of the Beatles. They'll be the fifth member of your band. So look after them, respect what they've got to say, because they're out there doing it. They know you're playing it, but they know what it sounds like.
Yeah. So if you've got a good mate giving you feedback and constructive criticism, that's
and if they want to roadie, let them do it, eh? And it does pay off. It does pay off, Matt, eh?
All right. So, mate, you're on a desert island. I know you're a blues man, but you're on a desert island. You've got to take 3 CDs.
Albums. 3. I thought you were going to say 1 then.
All right. No, all right, 1.
Oh, no, not 1. No, we'll go back to 3.
No, 1, and then I'll let you take another, and then we'll discuss the other 2.
Okay. 1 album. I think it would be Song Remains the Same, Led Zeppelin at Madison Square Garden.
Zeppelin.
Because that's like I say, we provide memories. Well, that album provides memories for me when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
You know, coming back from the West Coast surfing in Victoria, you'd have it cranked up in the old panel van, mate. You know, no quarter, and they hit that big, you crank it up, and then they hit that big gong, and it just, think, oh wow, trying to stay awake while you're driving too. It's been a big weekend of surfing and that. So that'd be definitely one album. They'd have to be live albums. I like my live albums because what you hear is what you get. Whether there be a mistake, I like hearing mistakes too when people are playing because it's real. You know,
that's honesty. That goes back to that thing you were talking about.
And that's it. And they'll say, "Oh, fucked up," but they'll keep going as long as you can come back. Second album, I'd say there'd be if you have a listen to a bloke called Bugs Reese Henderson and the Shuffle Kings. He does a lot of live albums. Most of his stuff's live. And what I like about his albums, he'll put a thing called audio liners at the end of it. And he'll talk about all the songs on the albums, who was playing, how they were. And it's just like a conversation like we're having now about the songs on the album. And it gives like, you often wonder, I wonder why they wrote that song, or wonder how, and he actually tells you about it. So it's a bit of insight too, which is, I thought it's a bloody good idea.
Wow.
So definitely a Bugs Henderson album.
What makes good music?
Simplicity, I think. Honesty, meat and potatoes. You get yourself a nice walking bass line for the blues, a nice walking bass line, a good Texas shuffle. And a mate of mine, Jules, from a band up here years ago, said, "Weirdo, the rhythm section's like a big wave. It builds up, it'll build up into the crest, and then it'll start to curl over. And that's just pushing through. You're the guitar, you're the surfer on this wave. So you get inside the tube and it's just holding together nicely, or you come down to a bottom turn, come up, do a cut-off flip, but you stay on that wave. But as long as that wave's pumping along, it's just a big fat wall of sound, eh?
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just simplistic. It's not rocket science. Life's too complicated, Matt.
So who would have guessed, really, that young fella playing hide and seek, listening to that
LaGrange, yeah.
listening to that would install a love of music in you that's taken you through your life.
And you meet good people along the way. You meet a lot of shitheads too, but majority, you soon pick them out, mate, after you've been around for a while. But a lot of good people in the industry, mate, eh?